Who's that?
somewhere else.
No, I'm not running.
They're moving from
I
Mooresville.
never run, just appoint me.
Yeah.
They know I can't win. They know I can't win, so they just put me on. That's the truth.
Feel bad for you. You're just trying to do all these little short-term ones, so you feel like you did 10 terms. Did you? There you go.
Now, does that blink? I'm still struggling with that. My name's not on the side of any of these things.
I know, you and I get to take a nap. in a minute.
You doing all right?
Doing good.
Good.
So if anybody, Deborah, has anybody turned in a petition yet?
No.
Oh, gosh. Way too early. Right?
Yeah.
End of October?
Is it the end of October?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If there's 25 people here, it wouldn't be too early.
Well, there's 275 people.
Well, no, I just need like 21 more to be here.
Oh, really?
And I'll be good, yeah.
It was quick, turns out. A little bit. This one. Yeah.
I didn't hear.
I'm glad it's done though.
Okay, thank you.
But I thought.
Curious to see how many of these Facebook activists.
Yeah. And that's October 30th when it's due,
It's due October 30th.
by 4, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And
Thank
the
you.
petition's in the office, we need 25 signatures.
Good standard. Got it.
You have some reflection on that.
When did that come up recently? Was I there? I could have been. You were drinking margaritas.
5 minutes.
Okay.
They have no idea the arguments, push, shove, pull, push.
If you just want to stand,
And plus,
you call them down and put out.
Okay.
Will you say something about this? Will you?
I read it.
Because
Oh, okay.
That's how I
I
know
just
it's
read
four-
things
it's
on
4:30.
Facebook,
Okay.
but there's
That's fine.
been nothing in the highlights or anywhere.
Yeah, I
So I
did.
don't have all the things.
Thank you.
And I think a lot of people are too, would like to support it, but we don't know what we're being asked to do. Okay, if you would. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, as long as you have to abide by.
Hey, we got your blood drive.
no opinions, it's because you
We're
lose.
having a true
You go out there, there's that.
They can, because apparently
We
they
had
do
one
what she.
Where was that?
That's true.
One of the firemen is put together. That's cool.
You can't.
I figured it's. Oh, you had the lights? Okay.
Saturday,
You could
If you're not buying here,
Well, I think we can usually.
You're gonna do that?
Okay. She lets me explain. Not multiple, but a lot of them can drive.
Okay.
because they don't get that way, they keep you ranting on radio. You know, the alleyways.
I mean, I would like to see people get on the board and post all the time.
I do too. They don't have the balls.
I don't?
Oh, you do? Oh, wait a minute, maybe you don't.
Hi, AJ.
Mr. Huddleston, how are you, sir?
Couldn't be better, AJ. Thanks for asking.
She just had a testimony.
Where's Jimmy?
He's on vacation.
He sent an email,
I didn't see that. Today?
yeah.
I missed that. This
He
afternoon?
was
He's on a
proxy.
family outing, but he did not give his proxy because he doesn't need to, there's no vote.
Okay. With that, it's 7 o'clock. We'll stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and thank everybody for coming to the ops meeting. I want to start off with reminding everybody that October 30th at 4:30 is the last time you can turn in to run for the board. You need to stop by the office to get the forms. You have to have 25 signatures of people that live in Heritage Lake in good standings. So they have to be brought to the office, and the office checks to make sure they're in good standing. You have to have 25, and they have to be turned in by October 30th at 4:30. And what I read was there's 5 openings this year.
I think there's probably gonna be closer to 4, but it doesn't matter, it could be 5.
Okay, I saw 5, but I know there's 4.
Yeah,
How's that? But I encourage everyone that's interested at all, come in, get the petition from the office, take them, get the 25 signatures, and they have to be in good standing. So if you want to get 26, it might save the office and you some problems of going back and getting another one or whatever. But it needs to be turned in by October 30th at 4:30. And with that, we'll go right to the office computer upgrades, and I see Grant's name on that one.
So, the office has, I guess, slow computers, and I was looking at possibly upgrading them. I've got, so when I looked at them, the server, or what we call a server, I guess, here at the lake, is running off of another computer that can barely handle it, so it's making it slow, and it's the main one, so when people are coming in to pay their dues, it takes a while to load up, and takes a while for it to, well, it takes longer for people to pay their dues, and other things like that. So, I looked at all the computers, they're all maxed out on their any way to speed them up. So if we replaced them, I found decent ones, or I can find decent ones for decent pricing. And my pricing down there towards the bottom, you can see if we just did the minimal server upgrade, where it actually puts a server outside of the computer, and it's like a network attached system. It would be about $380, give or take. So about $500 should cover it, shipping and taxes. If we fully upgraded everyone and got them a better computer, it would come up to about almost $1,300, but it's adding taxes and shipping. And then what I would recommend, the 4 terabyte server, I guess, NAS, but would be about $380, I guess.
Grant, are you just talking about those little plug-in
Yep. With
backup drives?
with hard.
They're not a server, it's just a backup drive.
Yeah, it's just a backup
How's
drive,
that?
and that's basically what they're using theirs for. But it's the one where it has the exchangeable hard drives. So not like a full server, but just like a backup drive that would run off the network, and everybody in the office could access it like they normally would, but it would speed up the system because it's not running off of worn older computer.
So really, for a little under $2,000,
Yeah,
because the minimal you wouldn't need if you did the recommended is, or do we need all 3 items?
so the recommended 1,300 is
Yeah,
every,
the 1,300 and the 384, the $400.
the 1,300 includes the,
Everything?
everything.
So if we said not to exceed $1,500, that would probably take care of just about everything you'd need
Yeah,
to get it, everybody up to snuff. Plus, you know, they'll be able to view cameras and look at digital recordings, probably a lot easier.
anything that you would want to back up to a server essentially, for anything even in the future, especially like when the marina, you could back up marina stuff, because it's all ran through the internet so that you can access it from basically anywhere with proper passwords.
Would these be able to be, if we end up putting in some sort of like a gate somewhere where we would need to have access cards, or if we had access cards for buildings, we could put all that
Information.
You think these will be able to handle that much data?
But yeah, and the one I picked out, we could exchange the hard drive, so, you know, in the future, if we fill up a 4 terabyte, because we're currently running on 1 terabyte and you're about 3/4 full, I think. And I don't know how much backlog that is, but going in the future, it's an exchangeable hard drive, so you can take it out and put a new one in, and the way I'll have it set up, it'll be an easy.
What would be the cost of that?
Future proofing.
What would be the cost relative to the times? What would be the cost of increasing the hard drive? Adding on.
So like if you look here on the sheet on the far right, 2 4 terabytes is $213. So, and going from 2 to 4, it was about what is that, $50 difference?
Okay.
Yeah, it's not even, that's not even a consideration,
Okay.
it just goes straight to 4.
Yeah, that's what I figured. And if currently you're running off of 3/4 of 1 terabyte, I think for the most part you shouldn't fill it up
Well,
anytime
it would
soon.
allow them to store for longer before they had to delete things.
Yeah.
Under total,
Mhm.
cleaning computers, upgrading software, what software are you upgrading?
Well, there's at least one computer that doesn't have an active Windows key. So I would activate that Windows key. It's just a process that you have to call in and do, and anything else that was on the computer that needed upgraded, as far as drivers and things like that. If we do get the whole new computer system, it would just be loading, you know, all the software on it. I do know we have a couple of programs that we run just to keep them clean and stuff like that. Carbonite's one of them in Office and whatever the Windows security is.
Right now, I believe the Windows security they're using is the application Vibe that comes for free.
Comes
with
for free.
Windows. I mean, that's a very well-rated one,
Yeah.
as far as I'm aware. What does 4 to 8 hours mean?
Just how long it would take to integrate everything?
Per machine?
No, just in total.
Seems kind of aggressive. But anyways, the
You could probably
machines,
do multiple machines at the same time.
Yeah.
While he's waiting for something to download, he could go work on the next machine and go work on the next machine and go, you know, have 3 of them running simultaneously.
so the idea is you would be doing this?
Yes. Me and possibly one other guy. A personal friend of mine who'd help me with this.
In terms of the recommended computer,
Mhm.
what's the speed of the NIC card? Because currently, my understanding is our capability is a gig. But
Right.
obviously, the NIC's cards that we have won't handle that. So in terms of the machines themselves,
Mhm.
what is the speed of the NIC card in terms of I presume these are NAS storage or?
It's a NAS storage system. So the NAS is good for 1 gig. I don't know exactly on those specific ones, but they're new enough that I believe they should be, let me look it up real quick, but they should be good for 1 gig.
That's so far over my head.
This will help too with remote access
Yeah,
for
you
the
could,
CPA.
you'd be able to remote into it, yes.
Okay, because I know she has a wait, from time to time, she just waits.
Yeah, I work a lot from home, and that's probably the only beef that I would have is at night when I know nobody else is on, but when I dial in remotely, I mean, it's just very delayed.
So is it-
I don't know if that would help it or not.
Is it delayed when you're accessing files, or is it delayed?
Delay when I'll do a lot of work on nights and weekends and do emails, just to kind of keep up on things. But it's mainly emails that, when I go to click on them, sometimes I'll click on it and I have to wait, to close one out or something like that, because I'll click on the X and close it out and it takes maybe 5, 6, 7 seconds for it to close out, it just kind of acts lethargic. I don't know if that's a computer issue, a laptop issue, or.
I could look into it and see if it might help. It would definitely help on the files. I don't know, I'd have to kind of look at that one and see what it's doing, but.
But I don't know if it may be our internet too, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I can look into that. Let me see here.
Oh, it's something you could check into.
Yeah,
The DDR3, 4, 5, 6, are those just, what are they designations of, just machine names or?
No, I think it's a typo.
we're,
The
sorry.
last,
Under-
the last
under-
line on new computer, we have DDR3, DDR4, DDR5, and DDR6, I think it's.
Yeah, that's just because I copied and slid it over. It's DDR3 and
It's a type of RAM.
yeah, it's the type of RAM, and it just, because I copied and drug over on Internet Explorer, or not Explorer, on Excel, it just added one more to it.
So basically, on all 4 machines, the RAM is the DDR3.
Yes, yeah, 16 gigs of DDR3.
What is under server, the third line, what is that? Is that a,
Synology is the type of, is the NAS actual enclosure, essentially. So the enclosure is basically a little tiny computer that runs the 2 hard drives that we'll be putting in it. And so if one hard drive does fail, it will be set up that all your information will be on the other hard drive as well, so then you can replace one at a time. It's very rare for 2 hard drives to go out at the same time, but currently you only got 1 hard drive, so if that one goes out, you would lose it, so.
Is it RAID capable?
Yes, it's RAID capable.
What's that mean?
RAID.
So you have 2 hard drives, you can either have them run so that they mirror each other, so that if when one fails, it will keep all the data on the other one and you won't lose anything. Or you can run them, have them together, so if we put 4 terabytes in there, you would have 8 terabytes. I wouldn't recommend it, because if one fails, then you lose all your information.
Yeah, instead of having 2 big computers, you can just make 1 computer bigger.
Okay.
Yeah, but
did you happen to verify that there are at the walls enough ports at the walls? Like, in other words, the computer is plugged into a port currently, which goes directly down. Are there enough spares for, adding this NAS drive, for example?
So I didn't look at where, I guess where the port is near that server, the current server one. But as long as we had like,
Switch.
just somewhere to plug it in, I mean.
Yeah, I just don't think you want to go through another switch. You don't want to introduce that additional delay. I think what you need to have is, a port that goes directly down to the switch in our utility server room. You don't want to introduce, for security, you don't want to have another switch hanging around.
As far as security, yeah, that would, correct. But,
I think you should look into that first. I would suggest, to come up with some kind of documentation about, like just a floor drawing, just to verify that you have enough ports already. Because if we would have to, that would add a few $100s more to, draw some extra lines. Because you don't want to put in any switches.
I wouldn't put in a port. If anything, I would just get a Wi-Fi card or a Wi-Fi dongle for the other computers and run them off that.
But again, the Wi-Fi is gonna slow you down.
Yeah, I mean, it's 1 gig. If you're running slow on 1 gig, you are sitting way too far in the future.
I guess in terms of my experience, it does slow you down, but, will you include it with the 4 to 8 hours? Will you come up with documentation on how this is laid out? Just in case in the future, if you or your friend leave, somebody else could come in and pick it up. In other words, a network diagram showing how the computers are connected, the architecture, structure, the passwords, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Are you doing network security? I mean, are you doing managed switches and the whole deal?
No.
So do we already have managed switches, so we don't have to make that a problem?
Yeah, we have managed switches, I guess.
Is there
I'm not
documentation on that?
That's the good question. They were asked, Endeavor was asked to provide documentation, they were asked to provide training for the office staff. I don't know if that ever took place. Deborah would know.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, so Endeavor never came through with their documentation. They never came through with their training, so I hope we haven't paid the whole bill yet. Because you could run into trouble,
Yeah.
because, AJ mentioned the smart switches. You don't know how they're configured, you don't know how the ports are set up.
Right.
They're probably set up admin.
Yeah.
They're probably not managed. I mean, they're managed, but they're probably not set up if they haven't done it. That's what I'm saying, like, if you wanna get to that level, I think what Grant's trying to accomplish here is we have slow computers, we wanna get faster computers. If we wanna do network security, that's like a whole nother layer.
I'm more of a plug and play is what it is.
No,
It's not
I'm
a-
just suggesting that you have a port on the wall, you don't know what level that port is configured. It might not be configured for a gig. You don't know that.
Well, it depends on what switch it's plugged into on the back in the closet.
You don't know by looking at the switch. The switch is gig capable, but the software that controls that environment, you could change the level. That's the ubiquity software.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, it sounds like you have a high level of confidence in this. I think you maybe could help point this out for a grant.
No, sure, I'd be more than happy to work with him. But all I'm saying is, if it would come down to looking at a switch, adding a port, we wouldn't have that ability without calling in Endeavor.
I wouldn't.
And that's probably what
I'm
they
not
want.
adding a port. I just put it to you that way. I'm not gonna add a port.
You're just taking computer A, old computer A, and replacing it with new computer A.
Correct. Yeah.
But he's also adding another device. I mean, it's,
Are you adding another device? Adding
The-
you're just
the-
adding an
the
external
NAS.
hard drive. You're just adding
So-
an external hard drive.
So the external hard drive does run through a network connection though, so, yeah.
I thought it was one of those USB ones that you plug into the server.
No, I was gonna do the network connected one.
Where will that sit specifically? It doesn't
I
matter?
don't-
Does it matter?
As long as there's a wall connection.
Can you put it in the closet? Can you put it in the network closet?
I mean, if there's room to set.
I'm just saying, instead of having to run a whole other.
I haven't
onto
looked.
the office.
I haven't looked yet. I haven't got that far on it.
I think this definitely needs to be an item on the agenda to talk about, because it seems like there's some traction, at least I think there should be.
And that you're just adding the one item, correct?
So,
Or, just a question.
yeah, so I'm adding the one additional item,
Okay,
the network attached storage. If we wanted to replace all the computers, I would just be exchanging the old computers out with the new ones, and it should speed up the whole system for everyone. Ken's is actually good enough. I know I got it, I realized that I just put, Ken's doesn't need one. I guess we can take off the 217 on that. Ken doesn't need a new computer, his is quite fast. So,
On these computers, are they normal hard drives or are they RAM hard drives?
they are normal hard drives, they're not SSDs.
Do you know how much the difference is in cost to,
I believe it's a couple of hundred. I could look at it and get that option for.
yeah, that's something I think we should look at, because that, if anything, that's going to speed it up.
It will speed it up a little bit. By cost, it's not a whole, speed to cost, the RAM does more than the hard drive would for what they're doing. Unless you guys are gaming on your computer, playing Call of Duty during the day.
Candy Crush.
Candy Crush.
Never done that a day in my life.
But I can look into that.
Yeah, I think
I'm
that
too
would be,
busy to be
I think that
gaming.
would be an appropriate investment, to have a solid state drive instead of the normal mechanical moving drive. Because what's gonna fail? Moving parts.
Right.
so that, what we'd be talking about is $600 added on to the total. Is that roughly? Just
Minus
roughly?
the 200 that he doesn't.
Yeah, minus
Yeah, minus the-
200, yeah.
Were the couple solid state drives that we have now interchangeable with this?
They should be.
But
They
if they're
should be.
fairly new, aren't they, Tom?
Yes, they should be.
Okay, that's what I
Okay.
thought. We have
I
two.
don't know what
Two
the case
solid
looks like, if whatever this case is, if it could handle it or not.
Right.
It should be able to, is all I can say.
Yeah, it should definitely be able to, because
Okay, are we gonna put this, is it on the agenda for the board meeting? Is that where we're going with this?
Does the office think that this is an appropriate investment at this time?
Well, I wanna make it clear that, because mine runs fast, that don't mean I test it to the max. It runs fast enough for me, so I don't know if it is fast or not, but it runs fast enough.
Well, most of the office staff themselves, they typically have, which is a good thing, and that's why I'm happy to see at least the 16 gig worth of RAM. They have multiple applications open at the same time. You do that, Ken, I know Deborah does it, I presume the other staff, office staff does
Yes.
it. So having 2 or 3 applications active,
So-
open,
just to give you an example, the main office was using half its RAM just sitting at idle. April's was using a quarter of its RAM. Deborah's was using half the RAM, and then I think Ken's was using like little to none at idle.
yeah, Grant, I'd be more than happy, I would like to participate if this goes through in this proposed upgrade. Because I
Okay.
do help out, periodically with the office.
Mhm.
Sure.
And just so you could make a note to add to your list of, in effect, some kind of manual that identifies the areas that I stated as part of this. And I think 48 hours, even though AJ says that should be enough time, I believe that's somewhat aggressive.
I mean, too low? You think it'll take
Oh,
longer?
absolutely. The only reason I state that is so that the office staff could plan that they're gonna be out of business for a while.
I would think he'd probably do it on the weekend.
I would shoot for like a Saturday or Sunday or something like that. Type thing.
Just because you're doing this not through regular business hours, because you're
Right,
doing it
yeah,
on
it's not my main job, and,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, definitely new business. I mean, I think Tom's right in the regard that if we did go to solid state, or if we did need to run new network cable or something, I mean, maybe we just not to exceed $2,000. Cause if you wanted to do solid state drive, we couldn't switch over the old ones, or,
Right,
you know, we did wanna throw in Ken's at the end, so then everybody's got the same computer. So then there's just, uniformity across
Yeah.
the staff, or if we wanted to have another computer for down at the marina, or,
I will say these are
Getting
refurbished
them on the
computers.
network would be great.
These are refurbished, they're not new?
They're not new.
What kind of warranty they come with?
well, that's why they're $200.
Yeah, they're,
Otherwise, it'd be 1,000 apiece.
I thought Grant had a contact at the factory or something.
That would've been awesome.
You know,
if I did that, I'd have a better computer right now.
These are the ones that fell off the back of the truck.
yeah, I really think we need to, understand what the warranties, since they are, refurbished, I guess is the word. Is that-
I believe with these, that they had a 1-year warranty on them, at least just basic warranty, I just looked at it. They'd be buying some new egg too, if anybody knows what that
Oh,
is.
what a new
Yeah,
computer
that's,
come with.
Ken knows what
Yeah.
that is.
What'd you say?
What kind of warranty would a new computer come with?
Well, they have a standard 2-year, I think,
I think you're
and you
right.
can buy longer if you want, but a new Lenovo
I don't know.
desktop.
We only use Dell and HP.
What's a brand new Dell or HP?
I think it was 3 on Dell.
3 years?
I wanted to say it was 3 on Dell, but also you buy, I mean, Dell's,
Just for chuckles, could you
Dell's,
possibly,
you know, got some Cadillac pricing on some of their
can you
stuff.
possibly look in what a new machine would cost?
A new machine starting price is $553.
So this is less than half price.
Yes.
But it has 1-year warranty and the other has 3. Is there are there any extended warranties for refurbished?
I don't know, I can look into that though.
Is the NAS also refurbished?
NAS will be new. And the hard drives will be new. And then the NAS will have to have hard drives. If we went solid state 4 terabyte, that's like, what, $3,000 now? So, per drive, so.
They get pricey in a hurry.
And having the same software on all the computers would be great too. Not Office 7 here and 10 there, and,
Yeah,
you know, the Office
Well, I think
in
that
particular
also,
would be great.
so that's just gonna help you guys with speed of transactions. It's not like, oh, if you send something to April, April can't open it, now you gotta figure out what type of
Yeah,
file to
and-
send.
Yeah, we've been.
If everybody's on the
doing
same
that.
version, then everybody can send everybody
Exactly.
everything. Yeah.
Third speed
Exactly.
bump would be different.
Yeah.
Do you think we could basically just discuss this again in the next ops meeting, or is it that critical?
I think that.
We could discuss it at the board meeting, and then that would give him a couple weeks to come up with some info. We don't have to vote just because it's on the agenda. Does that give you enough time, Grant, to do a little more digging? Or-
yeah, I should be able to get all that.
Because then we can talk about it in the next stops after that to get ready for
Okay.
November, or whatever the next one is.
So a discussion for the board meeting?
Yeah,
Any other questions of Grant? Grant, thanks for taking your time and getting this together. Thank you very much.
no problem.
So that'd be new business, eh?
Yeah. Just discussion.
Before we jump off of that, can we just follow up? I don't know who would, I'd be more than happy to, but could somebody follow up with Endeavor and find out where our documentation is and where our training is?
Training as far as, I
How
mean,
the network, you know, so you would be able to use the Ubiquity program to look at the server and see what its performance is. And I would suggest, at least we should have the ability, that if we had to, we would be able to activate a new port on the switch. But, you know, that's what I think at a minimum we should have. And again, I had asked that we have the passwords for both the super admin and the admin on the Ubiquity software. You know, I'd be more than happy if you want to get a,
That map stuff
sure, okay, if
is
you want to
way
get
up here,
a,
but
if you want to do
I
it
can,
together.
I can follow up with Luke, that's no problem.
You know, if you and I want to talk to him or what have you.
Sure, and I know you talked to Scott as well, the IT specialist. And I have either one of those at a minute's notice if I need them.
Because to me, it's just scary that, you know, it's a little bit like Ken could relate what happened to the fire department when they had a friend install their server. And basically the friend became a little bit disenchanted with the fire department and its operation. He refused to give the password to the server. So basically they were locked out of the server.
Yeah.
And they couldn't take advantage because the hardware that they purchased wasn't fully implemented when the guy walked out, so to speak. I really think it's important that we have that information.
Okay.
Okay, so you're gonna get with Deborah and the two of you
Yes.
contact Endeavor and get that worked out?
Yes,
Okay.
just let me know when it's a good time, Deborah.
Okay.
Anything else, Grant, on the upgrade?
That's all I got.
Okay. Next it says Hellneck charity giving opportunities, and it has my name on it. And in the operations meeting in August 31st, Hellneck, Jansley reported that they have several $1,000s available to give us, and we need to come up with what we think we want to do with that money and let Hellneck know what we're going to do, so. Does anybody remember that?
Hellneck, yeah, Hellneck wanted suggestions from any board members, any members of the community, for what they might effectively purchase. There were some suggestions about taxation on those purchases or donations. And I had a brief discussion with Jim, and his information led him to believe that the best thing would be to come up with something that we could purchase and have Hellneck purchase it directly, therefore not be taxed on it. And that's not a confirmation, that's just a discussion we had. But at this point, they're looking for suggestions, I believe, from anybody or anybody
Anybody,
and everybody.
not just
to
the
come
board?
up with. That's correct. To
Okay.
come up
I want to
with,
make sure everybody knows.
to come up with a purposeful donation for them to spend $8,000 to $10,000 on. And, I have a suggestion, and I'll bet you guys can't even guess what my suggestion would be. But I'll open the floor for other suggestions.
I know, just to follow up on that in terms of, the public offering their suggestions, I'm almost confident that the latest highlights that was published contains the information on Jan Salee and the two other people that can be contacted. I don't remember if it was an email or a telephone number, but
Heather
within the minutes.
Ledlow and
Brenda
Brenda Smotherman
Smotherman.
was the two that was listed on that, I believe.
And their contact, I believe their telephone numbers were in October highlights in the board meeting minutes.
I think you're right.
I think one thing that, in terms of suggestions, one thing that I had heard, this summer we've had so many wonderful concerts, band performances out here. A possible usage of that money might be to refurbish our current pavilion into something maybe larger, something that might resemble a band shelter that, and improve the electricity so the band could plug in their amplifiers. You know, so that was a suggestion that I thought might be appropriate, because it certainly would benefit the community.
There have been an extreme number of bands this year, and I don't see that slowing down at all. Saturday night, I went to the campground, and they had a singer there, and if you want to go by and look, they have a shelter house. In inclement weather, they still have the band. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed that or not.
Yeah, their pavilion shelter house is probably twice the size of ours, is that right?
I guess, is that what you're referring to? They'll
Yes.
make it,
Sometimes the current pavilion we have out here, to expand it, and I guess you could say upgrade it, especially electricity, to provide that capability. I don't know, I think that could be done for 10,000. Do you think so, Ken?
You'd probably use every bit of it, yeah,
Okay.
with concrete and, because that one that,
I was gonna say, how much was that one we did over there?
pardon?
How much was the one we did
It
over
was
there?
about 12, I think.
And you guys built it yourselves,
Yeah.
basically?
Yeah.
One of my suggestions I thrown out there was new additional parking at the marina, like boat parking, extending the docks out on both sides. Like where it's all riprap now, extending those docks out 60, 80, 100 feet, whatever it is, kind of around that shore. For additional parking to help with gas, help with people pulling their boat in and out, you know, stuff like that. And I don't know if that would eat up the whole budget or not, probably. Who knows?
You probably would with the, but until we kind of figure out exactly how to build that, I think what we could do quickly, and that is, I forget who I was with, but we had talked about, and maybe Ken Hoops, we talked about extending off of the back of the dock where the gas is, go all the way around the rock to the point where we would go out that way.
That's what I'm saying.
And then on the other side, go all the way around to the,
Where those slips
the other,
start.
yeah, the first slip is.
Yeah.
And that'll give you that'll give some.
Yeah, I wasn't saying a dock like
Oh,
that.
okay, okay, yeah.
We're
That
saying
would-
the same thing.
That would be the quickest thing to do. You wouldn't have to buy, your pipe in the ground would go a lot farther because, you know, it's, you would have it, yeah. So I think you can get more of your bang for your buck right away doing that.
I think that would help.
However, the bandstand, if you will, out there, I mean, is another good idea because it just seems to, not be large enough sometimes and.
Plus it benefits everybody.
Yeah. If you go to a band.
okay, so I guess we're just supposed to call these two ladies and give them, or three ladies, Jan and Heather and Brenda, and give them the ideas, I guess.
Yeah, I'll call them with the band and shelter ID if you like, or unless you want one central person to call.
Or we can send them this video and tell them to watch between this time and this time.
I bet they're watching right now,
I bet they are.
and they've written those items down.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Then I just take one person and make contact with them and share the ideas that the board come up with, and it's their money, let them decide what they want to,
Okay.
which one to use it.
I can also let them know at the next meeting too, so.
If you're the Hell Nut guy, why don't you be the guy representing this group?
Okay.
Do you mind?
Yeah,
mean,
I
is
can do
that-
it, yeah.
If you're gonna be there anyway. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Maybe they could come to the next board meeting with the ideas that they've heard tonight and maybe the ideas that they've thought about,
Okay.
just for discussion.
Did you give your idea?
You guys touched on it. I do believe that, I believe that there's gonna be a very successful restaurant at Heritage Lake. And I do believe that part of the success of that restaurant is gonna be definitely equated to the amount of boats that can park and walk into that restaurant. And I think it's gonna be convenient for people from their boats to either get a carryout or attend the restaurant. And so I think eventually, whether it's next year or 10 years from now, I think a viable expenditure would be to build a pier off of the, what is now a focal point by the flag, off of that restaurant area. However that's designed, however that's created, I think if Hellneck is gonna get involved with building a specific extension of where boats can park at this point, those can be designed so that we can take that out further in the future. We've already had at least two organizations that are entertaining, donating some substantial amounts of money towards that. I would tell you at this point, without researching and finding out competitive bidding on stable docking. When I mean stable, meaning you can have the roughest day out here, and people can at any time get off their boat and step on these piers, and they will be substantial. They will not move. They will be substantial, and they can be added on at any time easily. They can be altered left or right. So if we decide we're going to not go straight out and turn the corner left, turn the corner right, it's very adaptable. I would say you're looking at approximately $10,000 for 8 boats to park. So 100 feet. 100 feet of pier is going to be around $10,000. I'm sorry, $30,000. Did I say 10?
You said 10.
Gosh. I was, no, I think it was, I think it was 100 feet was $30,000. And 100 feet will house 8 boats. So that just gives you a parameter. I've only talked to one company.
Does that support pontoons?
Yeah. Basically, you figure 24-foot boats. You're gonna get 4 on each side. So that's 8 boats.
Yeah, I just thought pontoons might be a little wider, I guess not.
Wider? No.
No, he's just saying pulling, parallel parking them, not pulling in. He's thinking it.
Well, pulling into piers, no.
Like a
You just
parking
pull
spot.
you pull into a,
Tom, you're thinking like this?
If that's pulling in, yes, I can't see that far, but that's
no,
okay.
it's a straight pier. You come in parallel park just like you do for gas.
Got it,
On each side.
got it.
So it's a walkway, basically.
But you
Or a
could-
jetty. It's a walkway to the destination, and you park on either side of it. It's preliminary.
No, I just was wondering about, because I know there are a lot of pontoon boats on the water.
Yeah.
Okay. Good point, Tom. Any other suggestion to give Grant?
Okay, what were they again? Boat parking, what was the other company?
Ben Sheldon,
Pavilion.
Yeah.
extend the current pavilion to support larger venues.
With the electricity and all.
Yes, with the electricity, with the service.
Okay, that's the 2 suggestions from the board, is that correct? Any more?
Is that a new business or we'll just wait to hear back?
Grant's gonna take it to the Hellneck and give them our suggestions, and apparently they're gonna take several suggestions and decide, I guess, as well.
Or bring it to the board meeting.
Yeah,
and we'll have more
During their
discussion.
Hellneck report.
yes. Okay,
Cliff?
is that enough?
So just to be clear, Hillknack report, no new business fee.
Correct.
Correct, okay.
Next item is boat operator testing discussion. John Reedy.
Okay, it's really more of an update, let you know what's going on.
Okay.
At the last meeting, I hadn't been able to get a hold of Kent Hoops, but I heard from him the next day because he watched the meeting. And I had the wrong number. That's what it was all about. He hadn't had that phone number in quite a while. The long story short, Rick and Kent and I met 2 weeks ago. And actually, it wasn't quite 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, at my house. And it was really just sit down, brainstorm a little bit, what everybody is expecting. At first, it came up that Kent was talking about fines and all that, and I was like, no, it's not about fines. It's really more about the testing program, how we implement it, what some of the ground rules are gonna be, who's gonna be tested, open book, closed book, all those different things. We didn't make any decisions on that, and I had brought it up in the meeting to create a task force to take a look at everything and make a recommendation, an overall recommendation that hopefully we could implement, say in January, have it ready in January or February, so everybody could be tested next year. The task force is formed. It's me, Rick, Kent Hoops, Jim and Debbie Muhlenbein. And I actually attended, and Tom was there too, as was Steve, the Lake Committee meeting last Wednesday night, and kind of gave everybody an update. And so long and short of it is myself and Rick and Kent and Jim and Deb are getting together Wednesday here to have our first meeting as a task force. Now, they have already done some things within the Lake Committee. They were developing and talking about tests, what kind of tests, questions on the tests. So they, as a committee, they were starting to develop different questions. And one of the ideas that's been discussed, and nothing's definite yet, but give someone possibly an open book test. So they get 3 chances, and if they miss the first 2, they're stuck. So after 2 misses, they're gonna have to take it over again. But they're gonna have to start all over. And the idea behind that was, some of the philosophy was, they've got the book right there and they're going through the book as they're taking the test. Because I think we all know there are a lot of people who don't even read the book. So they've never looked at the lake rules to start with. So, but we are gonna have a task force meeting Wednesday. And I hope to have some more information at the board meeting. Whether it's at the board meeting or at the executive meeting, one of the two, where we stand.
What time is that meeting?
Pardon me?
What time is the meeting?
10 o'clock.
Oh, 10 a.m.?
10 a.m. this coming Wednesday, here. And everybody's confirmed, so.
Okay, sounds good. Anybody have any other questions of John?
Just, I was wondering if Rick he presented at a previous meeting a piece of software, if he has looked at any other software, or will that be identified at your meeting on Wednesday?
I haven't, excuse me, I haven't yet looked at other software. I haven't had any conversations with either Kent or John that suggests the software I showed you couldn't work. So until I do, I'm just waiting to see how big is that need. I've already researched enough to know that the one I showed you is probably the most affordable I've found that has rich features and options. Okay. But, and I can prove that, by the way, so you don't take my word for it. But nevertheless, if we have a need or a specific request, yeah, I'll do more research.
I guess the only thing I would, because I know this software, in effect, it's a subscription package. We have to pay a fee every year. It's very similar to like our point of sales software that we have at the marina. It's web-based, You know, so there is not any information on a computer, it's all web-based. I guess what I would suggest, if you're familiar with it, Google has a tool, I believe it's called Forms, and the one advantage to it, it is simple to use. It'll create a basic test, it'll grade that test, it'll give you a report on who passes or fails, and the other advantage, it's free. You know, so it's something you might want to look at. I know it doesn't have all the bells and the whistles of your subscription package, but I don't know if you've looked at it before.
I'll give you an honest evaluation of it if you'd like,
I would like,
Your opinion.
okay? I'll do
Thank
that
you.
for
John, did you say 10 o'clock Wednesday?
yeah,
What'd you say, Grant? I missed that. You,
I just wanna hear his honest opinion of it when he gets it, you know.
got it.
And like I said, that's the meeting of our task force, so.
Okay. Moving on. Tom Novak, lake rules violations imposed monetary fines.
As John indicated, I was at the Lake Committee, and one of the discussion points at the Lake Committee is, once we have the test, they're also looking at revising the handbook to identify offenses at levels. You know, for example, turning the wrong way to pick up a skier might be a level 3, that's the highest level. At the other end of the spectrum, a level 1, I can't give an example of that, but it would be a less one.
It's going the wrong way, Tom, I think we said. Going the wrong way. on the
Going the
lake.
wrong way on the lake, okay. And,
Or intoxication,
pardon,
or intoxication.
I think that would be a level 3.
Yeah.
But the idea behind this, and I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention, they're looking at monetary fines associated with those levels. And I thought in the past, I was told that we couldn't issue monetary fines. We had a court challenge. I don't know if anybody on the board is aware of that, a court challenge to that effect. And what I was informed at the Lake Committee is that if we change, or if we add a bylaw that gives us the right to do fines, that would be acceptable. So I just think that as we go forward, I don't know anybody's reaction, that's what I'd like to see, people's reaction from the board on what they think about monetary fines. AJ?
What I think about monetary fines,
Yes,
I think we should do them.
pardon me? You think we should do them?
I think so. 'Cause that's gonna catch some people's attention.
I think my feeling about it is, we have to do something. And we've had, I think, behind the scenes, there have been a lot of discussions about this. And you guys have probably had discussions with your neighbors. I've had discussions with several people in the community. I've had discussions with the people at the marina. And out of those discussions, I have come to an opinion. And my opinion is, we should fine the people for unsafe practices, and we should attach to those fines removal from the lake for periods of time. And the reason for my opinion is that we have not done it before, and things are getting out of control. People are talking to officers and security rudely. They feel entitled because we are a private community, and it's time to get it to stop before a kid gets hurt.
Tom, can I say something? This is not the only lake that has fines. There are a lot of other lakes that have fines. I think they said Hidden
Valley has,
Hidden Valley has fines, so it wouldn't be anything new. I mean, there's other places that have the fines,
We have had fines here at this lake
yeah.
prior to today.
Was there a court challenge? Does anybody have any
Not that I know.
record of a court challenge? Anybody from the audience?
Well, the Wendy Johnson thing is what stopped the fines. They had fines up until that Wendy Johnson case.
You say Wendy?
Wendy Johnson.
well, at the same time, I think Tom brought up a good point. Maybe at the Wendy Johnson period of time, we didn't have a law, a bylaw for the lake.
Right.
And I think if we have a bylaw, our attorney at this point has given us the green light.
To put in bylaw.
To put in the bylaws and to fine people for breaking the rules.
Breaking the rules, right.
Ken, your thoughts, if Paul's done, or Steve's done?
I'm done.
I would be totally in favor of it. I just, I'm with Paul, I mean, something's got to give. It should be, violations should be few and far between and not a multiple occurrences every day of the weekend. Because,
I don't even think you have to include weekends.
because it, well,
Sometime in the
you're correct,
summertime.
you're correct. Just, when you, I was sent a picture, you know, it's just, not every blatant violation is a safety issue for others, but just the blatant violation of allowing the family members or friends to come out and just jump on your jet ski and take off. And then I get pictures of people actually going through idle zones or the coves that are idle zones at probably 25 mile an hour. You just viciously knocking off a wake. That's just blatantly not knowing the rules. And when you allow that to happen, I think the homeowner of that scenario needs to be fined and they need to be removed from the lake, because that happens more so than I care to admit. The people that are allowed just to jump on the water on other jet skis, and they have absolutely zero idea of what the rules are. Now that's dangerous.
This board has made the decision to implement the testing. This board is committed, we've discussed it at length, that we're wanting to implement these new procedures to keep someone from getting hurt. It's all a safety issue. I think I can speak for the entire board. All of you has told me that. All of you has told me that we want to get control of this, and I think this board's committed to do that. If not, if I'm wrong, would you hold your hand up? Because I can speak from what I've heard from every one of you individually and in meetings.
We don't want to, we have to get them.
There you go. I'd like to hear that, John.
And the other thing I want to bring up, because what we're talking right now also impacts the 2021 lake security staffing. It'd be different if someone gets stopped and the person just made something minor, but has made a stupid decision. But if someone's blatantly doing it and they get stopped by security and all the security person gives is a ration of crap, that's different. It's like the notes I read about you giving someone a ticket. Somebody else was like, yeah, I just wanted to see something about it, if you'd stop me or not.
Oh, the Heritage Lake Racetrack.
The Heritage Lake Racetrack.
Yeah.
Right.
He had no idea what the speed limit was, but he asked me, was it 45 on the Heritage Lake Racetrack?
But I mean.
That's what he asked you?
Yeah, when I handed him his ticket, I said, just for information, it's not a racetrack.
But
And it's 30
I get more concerned about people who are out on wave runners or out on boats, and they haven't read their rule book. And, you know, I don't know how you completely stop that, but we have to stop it. We have to do it. And if that means imposing fines, taking people off the water, then that's what we gotta do.
Right?
So, and I think the lake committee, truthfully, is also discussing a lot of the same things we're talking about. you
The
know.
lake committee's behind this also.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I've discussed it with Mr. Hoops. He and I have had discussions on both items, the fining and suspension and the test, I guess all three things.
Yeah.
And he assured me they're behind it. They're the same way we are. We're trying to stop what we know if we continue on the path we're going now, somebody's gonna get injured. And we do not want that to happen. Nobody here does.
So I'm 100% behind it.
Yeah, as long as we go through and make sure that we're not gonna get caught up in something else, you know, lawsuit wise or whatever, yeah.
I've spoken to the attorney personally twice, and he assured me the fines are not an issue and the suspensions are not an issue. And he can support that in court for this board.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, you know, that somewhat drifts to the next item, but before we drift there, I think what I wanted the board to be aware of, and it sounds like everybody is aware of, is this issue is going to come before us. And if we have questions, I guess a question that I have is the logistics, meaning, okay, the implementation, because you know somebody's gonna get fined and somebody's going to challenge that. So we need some type, if we could call it an arbitration committee, an arbitration group. It could be, I suggested it could be part of the lake committee, that they have a separate subset of an arbitration group, that the people come before the lake committee to present their case. And the other thing that I think we have to consider, so I would say we have to consider like an arbitration group, because you know it's gonna happen. And the other thing, and this is a question for Ken, that was thrown out there is, okay, can we buy one or two Fitbits, small little personal cameras, that the lake security could either mount on their windshield or mount on their body and record this? Is that enough evidence legally?
Absolutely, you get anything on camera,
Sure.
it'd be perfect.
I mean, what does a body cam cost?
You know.
I don't know the cost of Fitbits, but, you know,
Fitbits
body
track
cams
your
are probably a lot more
Yeah.
expensive.
Fitbits track your steps. I think you're thinking GoPro.
GoPro, okay.
You know, we have an arbitration committee.
It's us, isn't it?
It's the board. If somebody has a problem with A&E, if somebody has a problem with the lake committee, if somebody has a problem with any other committee in this neighborhood, they have a vehicle to come to the board and voice their opinions, and voice their concerns with what they've been accused of. If they can't build what they wanted to build, and they need a variance, they have to bring it to the board. I think it's the same thing. If you break the rules on the lake and you disagree with that, bring it to the board. I think our responsibility is to get the evidence from the GoPros, from Ken, from his security people, and hear their case. And if we decide they're off the lake, they're off the lake. That's just my opinion. I think we have enough problem getting volunteers. We're already here, and next year, the board's gonna already be here. And if we're gonna make the bylaws, then we should be the arbitration.
Yeah, I guess, I hear what you're saying. I just think that the lake committee is probably the focus group that's coming up with these directions and these, at least proposing these levels, at least proposing violations. I think as a first step, just like with the A&E committee, if somebody has a problem, they first address the A&E committee with their problem, And if the A&E committee can't resolve it, then it comes to the board. I guess I would be totally comfortable letting the lake committee be that first step for arbitration, but that's just me. That, I would have a comfort letting the lake committee make that initial decision.
Or, I mean, that's a good idea, or have them have their, because they would know in advance if it was on the agenda, allow them to have their input during the time that whoever has the appeal, that they could have their say and then let the board decide. Either one, I think, would work.
Okay. Those things we need to work on and work with the lake committee. I'm not even sure Kent wants to do that. We as a board aren't even in agreement with which way to go, have the board do it or the lake committee. I think it needs further discussion on our part. And I'll take that responsibility, talk with Kent to see if they're even willing to do it the way you suggested, Tom. See
Yeah,
where
that
he's
really
at.
falls in the class of enforcement to me.
And that comes,
I
so
mean, anyone.
that's over here.
Anyone that, you know, first thing they do is go to district court, and go to this court, and go to that court, and it gets big enough, they go to the Supreme Court. And then, once that's done,
It's over.
it's over.
Okay.
So,
No, I was just throwing out
No,
those two concepts in terms of the logistics involved with the decision to go forward.
And I'm glad you brought it up, Tom, because this brings up a lot of things we all need to be thinking about. Not just the testing and not just the citations, but the whole gamut. You know, I've already heard, you know, before, just one person taking a test per household, you know, like, so what does that do?
my understanding is anybody that's gonna operate the boats or
See, that's
personal
the
water.
way the lake committee's
That's-
looking at it.
That's
You wanna
my,
drive the boat, you take the test.
that's the way I'm looking at it. Do we all agree on that here in this room?
I do.
Yeah, they were talking about having one person take the test and he's responsible for anybody that is in that boat.
No, I didn't hear that from the lake committee. I heard this,
That's the way- that's the way we-
I heard this from somebody else, but it was like, I think they're pretty much under the opinion that you wanna drive a boat, you take the test. Or, let me put it this way, if we say boat, anything motorized.
So is the lake committee prepared to come up with a solution for, if, and I'm just throwing this out, maybe you guys have had the discussion. I don't wanna beat it up, but if you're going to test everyone, which I believe you should, then there's gotta be something that they showed on their boat when they get stopped by security, that they've already taken a test. Just to have your POA card doesn't mean you took a test.
No, that'll be a license.
Yeah. It's been talked about.
We're gonna have another card to carry around.
Yeah, that's all the logistics of it.
That actually might be key to your actual POA card, it's got a number on it. So. Okay. They haven't worked all those details.
But they're working on it.
No, that's something they're working on, and
That was just a suggestion, because this is the first year that this is gonna be done. So they were suggesting maybe just one person in the household, the main person take it, and then he's responsible for anybody that gets in that boat, and everything falls on his shoulders. That was just one of the things that were brought up,
Okay.
because it's the first year of doing this.
Basically, whoever comes to put the boat in at the beginning of the year
That's kind of what was going on.
is the point person for the whole family.
Well, we've gotta get,
We need the test first.
we need to get it worked out to the guys that bring the boats to try to put them on the water that hadn't taken the test. We've gotta get to that point too.
Thought I heard the suggestion that they would withhold permitting of a boat until the test was passed.
That's what this board is agreed
That's
on.
still- Okay.
yes.
That's what we've agreed on.
Yeah.
That nobody will get a permit until they've taken the test. Is that correct?
Yep.
I mean, that's the premise where I thought we were at.
Yes.
I've only been to one lake meeting, but it sounds like that's the premise that I heard
Okay.
the other night, so. And in my one discussion with Kent, so.
Tom, you wanna move to the next one or
Oh,
we?
absolutely. It ties in you know, we're talking about enforcement, and it implies that there is somebody to enforce. And my understanding, and again, Ken could correct me if I'm wrong, our lake security, as the summer rolled on, became shorter and shorter. In other words, fewer and fewer people. And I was wondering if Ken or anybody else, or specifically Ken, could identify if he has ideas of why that happened. I mean, I've heard things thrown out, well, we don't pay enough. I've heard things thrown out, you know, why does an officer want to take this abuse when they could go to Raccoon Lake and just hand out lollipops? So I would be asking Ken specifically, what does he view as the reason that our lake security staffing has dwindled?
It's not so much, it's not so, I guess it's tied in a little bit with the money, but it's, I guess for the wrath of crap that they take, the $25 an hour is not worth it. Because keep in mind, this is a part-time job for them, this is not their full-time gig. I think I would have the same, or Brian would have the same issue if it was paying $35 an hour. As a part-time gig, you just don't expect to have to deal with such entitlement and verbal, pardon the expression, smart-ass remarks, because that's what they get. So I just think that, I'm not so sure that the money is the main issue.
Ken, do you think it's the lack of teeth that they have out there?
I-
Because like, if you pull somebody, like, I mean, I don't know, I haven't been pulled over that many times, but I've been pulled over before. And it was, yes sir, no sir, you know, addressing them with respect, because I mean, they can easily put the handcuffs in you and put you in the car if you're being a jackass. I don't understand why, and maybe this is, like, once again, it's tied into all this stuff, but is it,
It's all, this is just my opinion only, and I've done it for several years out there. It's that entitlement. Everybody feels like they can get away with it because I pay my dues. That's the impression that you always get. And, you know, maybe part of it's my fault, because I've always told them, I said, look, we could load a paddy wagon every weekend, probably 2 or 3 of them.
I mean,
I've never wanted to be the, you know, the one that busts everybody's bubble and not have a good time. But, you know, when you go down the lake and somebody is aggressive enough to see you looking their way and they flip you off, that's just flat disrespect. That's just, and when we stop people, you know, they make you feel like I'm entitled. Well, I've done this, you know.
well, but I mean, that goes back to the whole fines, it goes
I
back to the
agree.
testing, and
I agree.
we're slowly backing into this.
I agree.
You're right.
I think what we're
Situation.
doing is giving you a backbone.
If
What
you-
we're doing with these new rules and these new fines and this new testing, we're giving you a backbone so that when they do pull somebody over, you know, someone, I forget who, mentioned to me that, you know, we don't want to be too strict. We want to be gentle when we make these fines, and I know who it is now. We want to be gentle when we make these fines and how we're going to kick people off the lake. My reaction to that is bullshit. You don't want to be gentle. If the officer wants to be gentle, fine. Just like everyday living out on the street. If you're polite to an officer when he pulls you over, if you're polite to him about going 5, 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, you might get a break. If you're an ass, you're gonna get a big ticket. and he's not gonna give you any leniency. We give them the teeth, let them decide out there if they're gonna let somebody off because of their attitude.
You're exactly right. To AJ's point, when you get pulled over on the street, most of the time, you get respect. Why do you get it? You don't want a ticket, and you don't want 2, 4, or 6 points on your license.
Right?
It's no different if you find them, and I've always said, you wanna get somebody's attention, get in their pocket. Now, I hate to say that, but you.
Or
but
kick
you-
them off the lake for
Well,
2 weeks, 3
that-
weeks,
That's your
whatever.
2 or 4 points, and you get into their pocket.
I mean, you hate to ruin anybody's time. I mean, they spend a lot of
Absolutely.
money to get out here, I get that.
It's one thing to have a one-time offender, it's another thing to have a
But
five-time
that's,
offender.
I mean, if you've had to talk to the same boat more than twice
Yeah.
for the same thing, I mean, that you're done. Like, game over, you need to take a break for a week or 2.
I mean, Rick spent about, I think it was like 3 shifts with me, and I, you know, he asked me some questions, and I will tell you, most of the time, if I pull somebody over, or most any officers will pull somebody over, and you get 100% genuine, I'm sorry, I just wasn't paying attention, you know who's pulling your chain, most of it, that's, you know, officers have a lot of discretion, and that's one discretion you have, whether they can walk away with a citation or not. And most of the time, you get that respect. Why give them a ticket? I mean, just, you know, everybody speeds. But when you have that defense and you want to start recording and you want to be have an attitude, you know what? You can be all you want. I'll be right back.
See you in court.
Yeah. So I'm totally in agreement with the fines. I think the officers would give them some teeth. And it would be just like the road. You wanna run your mouth? Here you go. And they'll, you know, and they'll stop. The word gets out that there's a $500 fine for, doing 35 mile an hour down the idle zone, and you got 8 people on board that's drunk as snot. I mean, you're gonna get the $500 fine. I'm sorry, but that was your decision to do that.
That'd be $100 a head.
But you know what, you do that about one time, and it would get out and get stopped. And what, you know, I think with the fines go with the categories, the level of categories, and the suspension off the lake goes the same with the level of category. I mean, if it's something very minimal, you know, maybe you just take them off one weekend. If it's something that's very severe, you take them off for a month. Maybe you take them off for the whole season. But if we continue smacking them on the hand, it's not gonna do any good.
So you think that'll be the solution?
I definitely do. I know that I get caught doing something stupid out on the water and not following the rules. I can't, as long as I've done it, I probably can count on one hand how many times somebody has said, I'm sorry. Okay, and most of the time someone will just say, okay, you know, just like you're bothering me. And I've used that expression before. Most of the time, you think that you poked them in the eyeball because they're ready to duke it. And it's ridiculous. And it's just because they feel entitled. And the biggest one that has blown my mind was the gentleman that works for the Marion County Sheriff's Department. And it was on a weekend, and I think it was 2 years ago. I drove up to his boat because they were swimming. It was on a weekend, busy weekend. They're swimming in the main body of the water, maybe 100 feet on the other side of the buoys. But I simply pulled up and I just asked them, I said, can you guys get on the other side of the buoy? And they act like I was talking to nobody. I know they heard me. There was 2 people in the boat, 3 in the water. So I just kind of pulled away. They did nothing. I pulled up the second time. I said, hey, I asked you to get on the other side of the water. Within an hour, He calls my office, had no clue who he's talking to, and leaves me a message and tells me how this officer yelled and screamed and made his kids cry, and I need you to call my office first thing Monday morning. Boy, did I enjoy that phone call.
So, a GoPro would be a possible.
Some kind of video would
Some
be
type
a,
of
would
video,
be a
because
great
it-
idea. And preferably, if you, like our cars, they activate when you flip the lights on. That would be really sweet. I don't know, I could maybe reach out to a gentleman that I met on a cruise that is here in Indianapolis, and he sells body cams. And we've stayed in contact with him, and he just sold IMPD all their new body cams that are coming out. Maybe he'd give me a deal on one.
If you
Just say one of the
possibly could, if you could reach out to him,
Well, the
because
old one
I
goes
just
fast.
throw out GoPros because other people have thrown it out. I'm not familiar
Yeah.
enough with
Well,
it.
with doing what Tom's saying with the body cam and getting some teeth in place, is that gonna fix the staffing situation, or have we lost these people for good?
I think it would definitely help the
I
staffing
think it's
situation.
gonna keep both sides honest.
Yeah.
It's gonna keep the cops honest, it's gonna keep the people. If they get the idea that these guys are recording everything, I mean, it's gonna be published, it's gonna be
Yes.
out there. And we're gonna say, this is what we've done as a board to improve the safety of our lake. And we're gonna list these items. They're gonna take a test. Everybody's gonna know after a while that this is happening.
There's tests, there's fines, the officers are gonna wear a body cam.
Absolutely.
People are gonna hopefully toe the
Absolutely.
line a little better.
The last
I would think it'd make your appeal process go down.
The last thing, just for me to throw out on like security staffing, do we think we should consider, I know it'll cost money, a second security boat? My
Well,
understanding is we only have one operational.
yeah, the answer would be, yes, as long as we, can maintain 2 during the shift. I'd hate to waste the money, and then there would be times, there again, I'll go back to, this is a part-time gig for them, and it's always on weekends. So that kind of pulls back a little bit on the availability of some people. Would an available second boat help? Some of the, officers would jump on it, yes. But like I said a while back, and I know it's not, it will never happen. But if you want to do it and do it right, because then there's going to be people that will complain that, oh, now we buy another boat and I still see things go down on the north end. I said, if you want to do it and do it right, you hire a person and a boat for the East Fork, the north end, the middle, and the south end, and you got it covered. Don't give me any reason why you can't see it all. But I just think that would it help? Yes, for a second boat. But I think there's gonna be people that's gonna frustrate because we bought another boat, and then it's sitting there because we don't have an extra staff, and something's going on the north end.
I think it's a great idea to get another boat.
Do we still have?
And I think we can go to the community to see if we can get another boat. I think we can go to the community and say, we're contemplating putting a second security boat on the lake. And we know that there's a lot of people on the lake that might have a boat that they're not gonna be using any longer. If you'd like to contribute that, we're looking for a good deal on a security boat.
Or a
We've got
donation.
enough people, we've got enough people around this lake. Somebody reads that and they think we're gonna add a boat for security or safety, they might just say, hey, come get our old, whatever it is, you can have it. And then it just costs us maintenance. And I'm also in favor of raising the price to pay these people. I think $25 is ridiculous. I think $30 is the minimum we should pay these people. That's just my opinion. And as Ken stated earlier, he doesn't think that the wages are the reason why we lose people. He thinks it's because the entitlement attitude. And we're gonna attack that. We're gonna put meat behind this. But I also think that It's not an easy job, and 2 boats is not gonna solve all the problems, but I think it's better. You have an extra boat if one breaks down. You also have a situation where you might have some of these guys be on call for after dark, because after dark was a problem. And that is one rule I hope is on the top of the freaking list, going full speed after dark. They should be thrown off the lake for the rest of the year.
Well, I think we should.
I see them.
Should we put this on new business to at least talk about these things? Like, is it an agenda item that we can
Sure. we can put that
draw
on there.
community involvement from?
Sure.
If all of us want to put it on the agenda for the next meeting, sure.
Yeah, okay.
I think the more we talk about it, the more they understand that, like, hey, we are pushing forward with this thing, we're thinking about the boat, that can bring up the whole donation angle from that. You know, hey, we saw this happen this year, this is what we're gonna do to fix it.
Okay.
I think that should
I
be.
do have a question on the
I
boat.
mean, that's
thing.
another Hellneck
Yeah,
Could be.
there you go.
Could be
for
a
their 10
possibility.
grand.
Go ahead,
Add
Grant.
that to the list, Grant.
What do you have?
It'll vote.
Security.
The Hellnack security boat.
Grant, what was you gonna say?
You say we have one current working one, do we still have the other boat that may or may not be working?
I'm gonna say we have it, but the aluminum on the bottom is, we've patched holes in it.
Okay, I didn't know if it was just, if
It's
it was like just
But the
mechanical.
motor's
not
sample, right?
Yeah, I think the motor's,
I'm just saying, we could get another boat, put that motor on it. if
Yeah,
we
I mean,
it's,
depending on what.
you know,
you're
it's
doing.
a smaller horse motor. I mean, one of the things that was a problem with that boat versus the one we have, it's sure nice to, when you see a jet ski violating something, you can pull it beside them, and motion for him to pull over. Versus the other boat, you better wait for him to go down a cove and wait at the end of the cove for him to come out, because you ain't outrunning them.
You're not gonna catch them.
No.
Is there the possible, idea of a jet ski as the second one? Or is that, no, not a good idea?
I wouldn't think that would be a good idea.
I think we've had one in the past because there was,
that could work, because it's nimble, it's fast, it's little, so it can pull right up to somebody. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to be able to drive one.
there's
Oh,
an
no.
there's an officer that used to work out here years ago, and he talks about having a jet ski out here. I don't know, I'd be the first to jump on the boat myself.
Well, it's something to possibly consider. I don't know the cost differential, but,
Something to look at.
Okay, that's something to look at. We'll just put Tom's name on.
yeah, I just
On
wanted
to
to,
bring-
I just want to bring it up to discuss, so we're all aware.
So would that be new business B?
Yes.
Or B? Okay.
Lead the charge, Tom. We're
Or
behind
to
you.
discussion. Is there such a thing as a discussion?
Yeah, that's what it'll be. Okay, you have one more, Tom, that has your name on it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I happen to be looking at the strategic plan that was developed, and the final draft came out in 2014. If anybody's interested, the whole strategic plan, long-range strategic plan is available on our website under information documents. Not only is the final draft there, but also the surveys that were conducted. And the thing I was wondering is it time that we should think about having that plan or another plan, like a capital expenditure plan developed? Just throw that out for you all to think about and let me know, go around the table and, what's your reaction? Because one thing that I'm very interested in hearing about is, are there any other form of governance? I know we have a board, and that's our governance. Are there any other forms of governance that we could consider pursuing? Something that might allow us to get access to grants not grant, but grants for different projects that we're considering. You know, I don't know, you know, what's needed to change the governance. Is the governance that Fillmore is working under, or Cloverdale? I mean, is that, what form of governance is that? And that's what I think a review of the strategic plan might help us to identify. Are there any other better forms of governance that we could consider as a community besides a board of directors?
Mayor.
No.
Okay.
I just wanted to throw it out. I don't know if anybody has any comments, remarks, or
That's-
that is something I was
Planning
thinking.
committee would love to see solar out here.
Say again?
Planning committee would love to see solar out here, but that's not governance.
Governance, no?
Like a solar farm, you mean?
I've been to the last two, according to the calendar on the highlights, I've been to the last two planning meetings and sat out there by myself
Yeah.
from 10 till 7 till 10 after,
Yeah.
and nobody showed up.
Yep, including me. Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody's coming forward. No one seems to be interested.
I've been interested in participating, but I don't want to, I
Yeah,
don't want to run it.
I can understand that.
Well, my question is, should we think about doing an update to that plan or maybe another plan? I know Ken does come up with, he has a capital expenditure spreadsheet, at least I've seen it before, in terms of projects that we should consider. But one thing that I'm interested is thinking about, are there other forms of governance that we could do with Heritage Lake in order to get grant-type funds?
I don't know much about it.
Okay.
We got Dick, our government committee guru, right here, though.
Well, Tom and I sat in a meeting last week with the commissioners, and they again said, why don't you, when the discussion on the roads. And Mike Ricketts, who's the supervisor of the highway, he says, you guys just need to get incorporated, and then you could get community crossing grants.
Like become our own
Fix your
town, you
roads,
mean?
become our own incorporated
I'll tell you what,
city, and,
and that was a nice, meaningful suggestion from Mike Ricketts. Although he has no idea, not even a clue of what is involved in that. And we do have a long-range plan that addresses that.
Yeah.
So if anybody is inclined to read about that, it's in that long-range plan, and you'll find out what a monumental task it is, and how it was recommended through that long-range plan that we don't even, at this time, this community is not.
yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
suggesting we do that.
No, I know that.
Okay.
I'm just saying that that long-range plan specifically talks about how this community at this point is not in a position to do that from their recommendation. Now, we as a community can do anything we want.
Did they recommend a threshold that we get?
No.
To
No, they
pull
did
that
not.
trigger?
But
Okay.
I can tell you that those of us who have been involved with big projects out here, just mention incorporation.
Well, I guess the other thing is, are there other forms of governance?
Yeah, I understand what your question is.
That's my
Yeah.
question.
Well,
I don't know the answer.
I don't either.
I don't know anybody on the board here that knows it, but you brought it to our attention. It's something to think about, or talk to people about to see what the answer is.
Okay,
But I would encourage everyone to go through and read this long-range plan, because it'll answer a lot of questions. It'll answer questions about us being incorporated and what the recommendations were on that. And it's a very good plan.
It's a really
It's
phenomenal.
Yes, it's very, very good plan, and was very well done, and it's worth the money we spent to get it done.
That was done in 2014.
That's when the final draft came out.
It's when they were finished with it, yes. But their recommendation is not to incorporate, that we really can't afford to incorporate right now.
There was a lot of parts of that long-range plan where they cut and pasted the answers, which made the book a lot thicker. If they took all the duplications out, it would have been a lot
Thinner.
faster to read.
Right. Okay. Anybody have anything else?
I got a question.
Okay, just a minute, man. We had this operation meeting, and then I'll let you ask your questions. Anybody else have anything else before we close the meeting? I'll let Ben answer one question if nobody has anything else here. Okay, Ben, sorry.
The east end of the addition on the maintenance building, the new part.
Yeah.
As you drive by and look at it, it looks like the east end is unfinished.
It is?
Is that gonna be finished at some point?
Yeah. Do you think I would let that go half-ass done? You know, it would be, it's a nice, I mean, once we finished it during the winter, there's a few more things that we need to get done, but, you know, the summer rolled out and we had all kinds of outside projects to do, and so,
I understand.
you know, the mowing the grass and the shelters and all that repair got taken care of first, and then we'll finish that this winter.
Okay, with that, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for coming, all of you. Thank you very much.
If anybody'd like to sign my petition, just for me to stay on the board potentially, I would like that, if anybody wants to do that.
We're gonna have executive session starting in 8 minutes in here, and it should not be very
You
long.
guys have talked about that, all talked about at the
Food for thought. If you're gonna update.
Their $50 fine was the smallest thing, but 8 days suspension.
There you go.
You got up to a $500 fine and a 30 days.
Be, just.
I think you talked